Morgen, Erev Shabbos, Kodesh, Parshas Zohar, Parsha for Basel Migdash. The Rambam that we're learning today, Hilchos Tumas Ochalin. So I would like to discuss the first Rambam, Perek Daled Halacha Aleph. The Rambam takes a opinion that's a bit, most Rishonim argue on it, and with many proofs, which says as follows: Kama shir eichlin letuma. How big, how much of an eichel you need to become tuma? And he therefore differentiates between two things: the tumas atzmam kolshem. You're talking about the tuma that they need for themselves. In other words, they should themselves become tamei. You don't need any share, and it'll drop. And he gives an example. Now, there are those who harbor trace their main shot in the Rambam based on this example, but most Rishonim don't seem to take it that way, which is afilu shumshum echarigo, which are seeds, and they're mistame, they become tummy. So just for clarity, there are those who learn in the Achreinim that the Rambam does not believe that any culture is good, only if it's a complete item, like a seed, a sesame seed, or a mustard seed. That's a complete item. But stamazay, if you take something and take a piece of it, a small piece of it away, it will not become tummy. That's the way they learn pshat. If that pshat were right, a lot of issues would be resolved in the Rambam. However, it doesn't seem that the Rishonim were like that. They just believe that he's bringing an example of a small item. And then he said, I'm sorry, kol shehu, a little bit. The ein eichel tamei, an eichel is not a tamei eichel. Now, once it became tamei, if it's not metame eichel acher oy mashkin yadayim achiva kebeyim b'lekli b'as. Then we do have a share. If you're going to be metame something else, you have a share, and that is kebeya. Okay, that is the main halacha right now in the Rama that we're going to be talking about. The Kesef Mishnah notes that this idea that the Rambam says that a shir eichlin to become tamei is only mashu is really a machlekes Rashi and Tosfos in Masechtas Pesachim, period called Sha'ah, second period, and that Rashi, who takes the Rambam's view, so to speak, that it's only that you can be tamei, you can come tamei even in the drop. And Tosfos disagrees, but even Rashi changes his mind and accepts the opinion that you need a kibeya, but the Rambam takes it from the Teres Kain that says clearly like it. There's a Gemara in Yuma also similar to that, but we'll leave that for now. Okay, there's another Rambam earlier that we learned. We didn't talk about it, but it was discussed, I think, from one of the shiurim online. Hilchos Tumas Meis, Perek Tesvav Halacha Aleph. Here the Rambam writes the following. Here's where it starts becoming complicated. Talks about the halacha is as follows: if you have a window between two places, two rooms, and you seal it, so it depends what you sealed it with. So the Rambam writes the following lashon, that if you sealed it with eichlin, that's einan muchsharim, that are not going to get tamei. So only some kabel tumah will not be considered a sealant. What's considered a sealant? It's not makabel tumah. But if you seal it with things that you're going to take away, it's definitely not going to work. So that's what he writes. Comes Halacha Gimel, and he writes something very interesting. You have food that's less than a kebeya, she'einon muchsharim, that are not muchshar lekabel tumah, means water has not come in touch with them. Einon chashuvim etzle, vein daita lifneisa. These are not considered chashuv. He's not going to take them away, and they're not muchshar lekabel tumah, so they're not going to be lekabel tumah. Uleficha not as a devach. So that's perfect. You got something that's steady, that's staying there, bottled to the chalain, and it's not mekabel tumah. So it's not a davar mekabel tumah. Okay. So Mishnah Melech says, why does the Rambam stress eina muchsharim? Because since it's even though it's less than a kebeya, it won't be mekabel. It'll be mekabel tumah. L'shita say. But those who disagree with him and say that less than a kebeya is not mekabel tumah don't need eina muchshar. They can be muchsharim also, because since it's not going to be mekabel tumah anyway. Okay, so everything perfect. The Rambam seems to fit perfectly. Okay, let's take a look where this din originates. It originates in a Mishnah in Ohalais, Perek Yud Gimel Mishnah Hey. That over there it says, what is Mamayit? Pachas Megazai Bosa. Here it says, Pachas Megazai Minanavela, Pachas Mechadash, Pachas Mechebeya Eich. Less than a Chebeya Eich. Doesn't say anything about any Mechshar. It says Pachas Mechebeya. Rambam changed the Mishnah. Why? Not like the Rambam. And the Rambam himself, in Impure Mishnah, explains this Mishnah and is bothered by the question. Why is Pacham Segabeya Eichlin? Why is it not why isn't it Chaytzitz if it's Makabel Tumah? L'shita say. So the Rambam writes. So in other words, the Rambam does accept. Listen to the way he explains it. Tumas Ochalin b'kebeya. Chol shebachas b'kebeya ain't metamei Tumas Ochalin. It doesn't make it tamei. You can't make something else tamei. Yes, it can become tamei, but it can't make something else tamei. Ulefichach. Listen to these words of the Rambam. Phenomenal words. Lefichach nachshev oisei kedavar hatohir. Since it can't be metame, it's considered a davar hatohir. That's the way the understanding of the words of the Rambam is. Which I will eventually, if we get a chance, we'll go through it. Okay, so the Rash, as we've come to know in Tyrus, the value of the Pirush Mishnah and also the Rash. He says, he asked this question, based on this shita. And he's matchid as far as Rambam, and he says, and he says, no, with the Raisa, it's not Makabel to Impure. It's only the Rabban. Since with the Raisa start, that's all that counts. Okay, so we have what we have here in front of us. The Rambam clearly, L'shitosei all over, Pachas Mekebei is Makabel to. However, it can be Matam. In Sefer Hayad, where he talks about that what kind of eichlin are going to be chaytzitz with neatuma. He says it has to be less than a kebeya for different reasons, so it shouldn't take it away. But it has to be ein mechshar, because if it's mechsharim, then it's a problem. Then it can become tamei. In Pirush HaMishnayos, in the Mishnah where it doesn't say anything about any Machshar, the Rambam clearly states that it's not negated. whether it's harm, because since it's not Mitame, it's not considered a dove, it's Nachshav Ketama. The Lumdus is a Lumdus. So, if that's the case, why in Yad HaChazaka does he need any Machshar? So, Yeshle Madani, we do find discrepancies between the Pirush Mishnayos and the Rambam Yad HaChazaka. He changed his mind, and the Achrayim used the lashon. He agreed with the Rash. The question is why? Why would he do that? That's a very, very good start. And why does he change from the Mishnah? When there's a Mishnah, it's not his own thing. He's saying it based on a Mishnah. Okay. There's a sugi Masechta Shabbos that discusses the idea of Tuma for Kebeya, and at the same time, Negei Hilchos Shabbos. Straight away, I say, Rava asked Rav Nachman a shayla. Zora Kazayis Truma Lebayis Tomei, or Lebayis Tomei. Remember Lebayis Tomei. He took a Kazayis of Truma. Remember, he threw it into a house that is Tomei, and there is a Tomei things in there, obviously. Like the Gemara, Lamai Ilin Yishabis, you need a Kegregas. Ilin Tuma, you need a Kebeya. So the Chayy seems clearly you need a Kebeya. Okay, we'll see soon. So the Gemara, no, La'ilam Lin Yishabis. Now listen to what happened. In the house, there's less than a Kazayis Eichel. Less than a Kebeya. And this pachas Kazayis that you're throwing, Mashlimoy Lebeya. That makes now when you throws it in, obviously it's good aim, and he throws it through the window into the house, boom, lands right on the Beya, or it's, well, it doesn't have to be that that's an extra touch, but let's assume so for the time. And so now the question like this. It doesn't have to have good aim. It can be also Tumas Ochalin. There's other ways of it. Meet them at Star of Linian Tuma, Chayav Nami Linian Shabbos, and then Makol Linian Shabbos. So here's the shot. I threw less than the shear of Shabbos, but it's going to become choshev when it hits the ground and is mitzaref. So since it's mitzaref, Linian Shabbos, Linian Tuma to become something tamei now, so it now gets a chashivas Linian Shabbos, or no, the Shabbos you need a grace. Okay, so Taste this is mechiach from here that you need a kabeh. Because if not, what's the shayla? Now, the Rambam in Hilchos Shabbos brings this halacha. And he writes, Zora kazayis eichel lebayis tam. V'hishlim kazayis zeh la'eichlin shahayisha. V'nasa kol kabeh. Yeah, it made it a bay. Hey, the Safek in the Chayav al Kazayis v'nei shehishlim ashir l'nitumay l'nis. It came together, and so the Shaila, Safek. What's the Rambam Shaila? The Rambam holds that it was tummy before. It was tummy even less. Right? Oh, so we have a simple answer. As the Pnei Yeshua and other Achreinim say, remember the Rambam in Hilchos, in the Mishnayos, Pirush HaMishnah. So the Pnei Yeshua writes, our sugi, you can't prove anything. Because he says, Chashivusay Linyan Tuma is that it's Mitam Acher. Before it wasn't Mitam Acher. Now it became Mitam Acher. This Fasemes says the same thing. And he says, why does the Gemara have to answer that it was Bachas and Gemei and Abayis and it was entirely Tuma? Why did you say stop? He threw something in and it becomes Tumah in the house. It's going to become Tumah. Because that itself should make it a tzah for Shabbos. He threw a non-Tumah thing into a house where it will become Tumah. without a kazayis. The Rambam holds it becomes tamei itself less. That should give it a kashir. So we have here an interesting thing that the Rambam, according to the way you have to learn Shatnez Gemara, is relying on his svara that since it's not mitame lacks a chashivas. That's the answer to Svasemis Kasha too. And you have to say that we're talking about mitame, not tome. But yet we find that the Rambam we have to say that he regretted what he wrote when it comes to Eichel Shein Mukhsharim. The two don't fit. So I want to. I don't know if I have to get into every aspect of it here, but let's just. There are indications. Let's analyze for a second. If something is tamei but can't make tuma, right? So the Rambam says a stark word, nachshiv eisei kitar. Let's think for a second. So if I throw something, let's answer Sasamis' question first, and then let's go to this. Sasamis' question is, it's going to become tamei itself. What do you need more? Obviously, you have to use that Rambam's lumdus, that becoming tamei that can't affect anything else, nachshav eisei kitar. So it means what you threw and what becomes later have no shaykhs. The fact that it becomes tamei when it hits the house, you're throwing. It has to have a shaykhs to your itzah and then to achnasa. Your itzah was an adavet tahar and your achnasa adavet tamei. It became later like a store. If something wasn't, I threw it and suddenly something happened to it. That's not nothing to do with my throwing. I didn't throw that. I threw something else. To say that because it's going to happen, that's enough. That's depending on what the connection to what I have right now. What do I have? How far do we take this lumdus of the Rambam that since it's only tamei and not metame, nachshav eisei kitar? So in Ohalois, when it comes to Ohalois, there the Rambam says in Pshat in the Mishnah that it has to be nachshav kitar l'gamri. We have to look at it as a tar l'gamri. But when the Rambam takes a look at Hilchos Shabbos and Paschas that way, that the Gemara wants to say and remains with a suffix that when I throw it and it's only tamei, but it's going to become a metame when it reaches the house, and that should give it a chashivus. If it's nachshav eisei kitar, then it is not shayich to say that my throwing and what happens later have a shaychus to each other. I threw a davar tahar and it became a davar tamei. So it has nothing to do with my throwing. There has to be a connection to my throwing. Oh. So the Rambam is mechiach from this Gemara in Shabbos, that this Gemara in Shabbos obviously holds that being tamei is not totally tahar. It's not totally tar. And therefore, the Rambam says it has to have already a Shem Tumah. It has to have already a Shem Tumah. And and therefore, when I throw it, it has already the potential for becoming a metame. And therefore, it causes the item since it's going to become a metame when it lands, it already has that kayach in it now to be considered a davar chashiv. So now that's the case. Let's go back to Hilchis Tumas Ochalin. Tumas Ochalin, I put into the window a davar that's tummy. But it's pachas me kibay. Let's talk about eichel mechshara. It's going to become tummy now, right? So you cannot tell me, and the Rambam's view is that fact that it's tummy, it already is a bekayach of a metame, based on the Gemara Shabbos. So based on the Gemara Shabbos, the Rambam has to change and say pshat that it's talking about eichel sheni mechsharim. Because if mechsharim, the tummy would be already a bekayach of a metame, and therefore it would not be a mafsik. I think it fits very well that the Rambam changed pshat in the from the Mishnah and Olas based on the Gemara and Shabbos. Now, I'll take it one step further based on a Hakira that I saw in the Sefer Even Yisrael, which was written by Rabbi Yisrael Yankee Fisher, who was the Rav in Zichur Meishe Shtiblach, Shul and Shtiblach. And I just as a side point, I davened there many, when I was in Eretz Yisrael for 2 years. I probably davened there every single day. If I davened every day with the minyan, I davened there every day. Or here and there. Now, if I wasn't around, I davened somewhere else. But I was, Zichur Meishe is the place if you're living in that neighborhood. And most of the minyanim are in Shtiblach, but once in a while there's a minyan. But there is also the big shul. Now, in the morning, after his early minyan, and I would assume maybe it even was Kibbutzik, I don't know when they davened, but he gave a shir every morning in Mishnayos. I mean, this person was a goyin olam. To listen to him give a shir in Mishnayos to a bunch of Zakanim who knew nothing and asked him questions from the most ridiculous questions, and he had the patience to answer everybody. It was this incredible sight to watch. Ayida Goyin learning with simple people and answering them on every silly question they asked. And I would sit there sometimes like in awe of how he does it. But he did it. It was a very, very incredible experience. Anyhow, Grace Alam. And in his Sefer, he thinks, you see, a Lamdusha cup. So he says, besides being a Pesach, from the big Pesach and Goyin, he was a big lamb. So he has an interesting shaila in why isn't something that's in a window a davar tamei? Why can't it be chaytzis? So I'm going to tell you his chakira. He goes off on a different tangent with this chakira, and it says a different svara. I believe this chakira could be used in a different way. This chakira is as follows: is it because since it's mekabel tumah, and now that you put it into the window, it's going to be mekabel tamei and it becomes tamei. So it's min b'mina, it's tamei kemi chaytzis. It's sort of like that concept. Or no, since it's mekabel tumah, it can project the tumah weiter. It has the koyach of being projecting the tumah weiter. The tumah uses it as a means to go on further, and that's why it's not chaytzis. And based on that, he goes in. Now, obviously, he has his Einish ways of learning, so I can't tell you why he goes that direction. But, if I would know what he knows, I could probably tell you. Or even a fraction of what he knows. But nevertheless, in my little knowledge, perhaps in the Svara, in Hegyon, you can say the following. That according to the first approach, that davar tamei is not chaytzis because it's tamei. So, like we said, well, who cares if it's not tamei? The fact that it's tamei, it's not chaytzis, it's finished. It's a min of tumah, doesn't chaytzis. So, but according to the second, that the word is a davar tamei projects tumah weiter becomes a conduit for tumah to go far on further. Could be pachas nekebeya. That's not metame, cannot be a conduit for tumah. Only a davar hametame can be a conduit for tumah, even though it's not necessarily this metame, but it has to be a something of metame. So when the Rambam writes in Hilchas Tumah, Hareyu davar tahar legamri means because this as a conduit, it's a davar tahar. No, it's not stam avor. He doesn't have to regret anything. He's explaining his word. He gets the halachic implication. But then in Hilchos Shabbos, you see that the Tuma already has in it a koyach hametame, since it can be mitzaref. So therefore, he says it's even a conduit when it comes to Hilchos to oilers, and therefore will be a means where it could make something else tough. Akapanim, that is the approach that might answer the sort of, it's not really a contradiction, but the Rambam's consistency in the sugyas. And Hatzlacha Rabba, have a great Shabbos. She's zeichet that it should be Timcha Zeicha Amalek, and which will cause that the Shem will be Shalom and the Kisei will be Shalom through the coming of Mashiach Tzidkeinu B'Karav Mamash. Right, gesund stark.